Welcome to Cord Cutting Today, where we break down some of the biggest stories happening in the world of cord cutting, including today, Roku potentially buying Paramount Plus and Pluto TV. We'll tell you what's happening there. Also, Fubo is kind of making changes to their lineup. If you're not watching a channel, it may suddenly vanish unless you ask for it to come back. We'll tell you why, what to look for. It seems like this is being in beta testing. We'll tell you more. And scammers are targeting Spectrum, cable TV, and internet customers. I know I've talked about this many times in the past. Really want to get this one out because it's becoming very popular recently. I even got a phone call with this scam. We'll break down what's happening and more. First though, if you're new here, you can find a link to every story I talk about with these stories and more down in the show notes and in the first pinned comment, so you can read them for yourself and leave me a comment. Come up with your own thoughts. I want to hear from you. If you like what we do here every Monday through Friday, we post videos like this. Hit that subscribe button, hit that thumbs up. I'll really appreciate it. So with that said, let's dive into the news of the day. Roku is potentially interested in a joint bid for Paramount Plus and Pluto TV as part of a bigger bid to buy all of Paramount. Now with this, apparently Fubo's chairman and several other tech companies are binding together for a potential bid at the last second to buy Paramount. Now you probably heard Paramount and Skydance Media have struck a deal. Now with this deal, Paramount does have the option to shop around for a few weeks and look for potential bids. I believe later this week, I should say, that bidding process will come to an end. Now, if Paramount does accept another offer, they do have to spend a $400 million fee to Skydance for breaking this agreement. But these tech companies, which includes Roku, are looking at making a last-second bid to try to buy it. Now, for now, the team behind Paramount seems really set on the Skydance Media merger. We'll see what happens, but it looks less likely like any other bids are going to be accepted. Now for Roku, they would not necessarily be the main one. The chairman of Fubo will be the main, Edgar. I'm not even going to try his last name. I apologize. Very dyslexic and I would butcher it. But he's kind of leading this effort, but he's bringing together a coalition of people to buy it. You know, Roku, according to all reports, is mostly interested in getting their hands on Pluto TV and Paramount Plus, tying it into Roku more. Not necessarily eliminated, but there's a lot of content on Pluto TV that would look really good on the Roku channel. It would be amazing though to see maybe Pluto TV go away and merge into the Roku channel if they do become owner of it. That would be shocking, but we'll see what happens. I think this, you know, much like other places, I think here's a good example: the radio industry. When the market got tough, Clear Channel Radio at the time, they're called iHeartMedia, which most of you probably know, went on a buying spree, buying up the competitors, right? If the pie is shrinking, less and less money, but you own a bigger chunk of the pie, you're gonna make more money, or at least maintain how much you're making now. And that's what iHeartMedia did. Now they're struggling, and who knows if they'll have to declare bankruptcy someday in the future. We'll see, once again. But Roku, I think, and others are kind of looking at the same thing. Well, you know, yeah, the market's very tight. If I were to go and buy a competitor, if I'm the Roku channel, I buy Pluto TV or sometimes strike a deal for partial ownership of it, I just increase my share of the pie, which gives me more money. And I think that's what's happening here. In the long run, will Paramount accept this offer? I think it's highly unlikely just because they seem so darn set on merging with Skydance Media. But we'll see. Leave me a comment. Let me know what you think of that. All right, next up. Fubo has been removing some channels from some customers' lineups. If you don't watch a channel, and the one that I was sent an example of and was also posted online is the Hallmark channel. If you don't often watch it, they remove it from your lineup, but you can always ask for it to be re-added. Now, why are they removing it from your lineup? Well, because they have to pay for channels even if you don't watch them. By removing it from your lineup, they just can stop paying for it. Basically, they just switch you to a new package that doesn't include it, and you just press a button to switch back. It may seem like a very minor thing, not a big deal for you, but for Fubo, that helps them cut their costs dramatically as they've never been profitable and they're trying to become profitable. And if you're just there to watch sports and you've never turned on the Hallmark channel, you know, they're probably like, why are we paying for this? But it's part of their package. I sometimes wonder what the channels would think of this move. I'm sure that Fubo believes their contract allows them to do this, but I'm sure they're not very thrilled with it. So if you're on Fubo and you suddenly notice, hey, this channel, because you haven't watched it, is not available, you now know why that's happening. We reached out to Fubo for comment Fubo has not responded to our request for comment at the time of this recording. But I've heard this from a couple people. Even though I have a Fubo subscription, I hardly use it. I do pay for it myself. And so I use it mostly for a handful of sports channels like local RSNs. I went over to the Hallmark channel and it worked for me. Fubo and others have a long history of beta testing things like this, right? They test it out, see what customers react to it. And I believe that's what's happening here. I think this is in beta, and that eventually they'll either decide that this is working well, they like it, and they're going to roll it out to everybody, or they're going to say, yeah, maybe this wasn't the greatest idea we ever had, and they'll stop doing it. But again, if you do get impacted by this and you go to one of those channels to watch, a simple click of the button on the screen returns the channel to your package, basically swaps your package. Now, some people will probably be upset saying, hey, well, I'm paying for all these channels, why do I have to do that? Why are you removing it? Other people will say, well, whatever helps them stay profitable and keep prices down, they love it. So I think it's personal opinion on that subject. All right, I've talked about mini spectrum scams recently. I actually got a call recently, and it seems to come from a recent data breach of Spectrum customers' information. Because I haven't been a Spectrum customer in 4+ years, but I did when I lived in Texas. I was a Spectrum internet customer. Was very happy with their internet too. Got a call from a rep claiming to be from Spectrum, let me know that my 40% discount on my internet and TV service is coming to an end. Of course, I've never had TV with Spectrum, but I did have internet. And if I would pay some money and swap plans, I could get a better deal than I had before. Red flags all around here. I have confirmed with Spectrum that they have no such deal right now. They're not making calls like this. A few things. When I first got this call, it was to a voicemail. And the voicemail said, please call us back at the phone number on your caller ID. That's probably because they're rapidly changing these numbers to avoid being blocked. So they don't want to give you a phone number and have it get blocked because it's a scam. Second, be careful of anyone calling you asking for money unsolicited over the phone. If you're ever in doubt, hang up, look up, not just on Google, but go to the Spectrum website, go to the Roku website, wherever, look up their phone number, call them there. Be very careful of taking phone numbers from Google. These scammers are getting more and more aggressive. And because there was a leak with customer data, they can target you because they know you've been or were a customer, like me, or currently are. And they can, think you're more likely to become a victim of this. Be very careful. Never give out credit card information over the phone. And they start asking you to pay for it with gift cards. Even bigger red flag. Never, ever, ever do that. No legitimate company is going to ask you to go to Target and buy a Target gift card, for example. So be careful. I can confirm these are scams. I've seen them myself. So just be careful with that. All right, recently a lot of price hikes have been coming. Disney's, of course, raising all their prices on Disney Plus, Hulu Plus, ESPN Plus, Hulu Plus Live TV, and more. And Starz is also raising their price ahead of the new Outlander season. So we asked over 150 cord cutters if you plan to cut back, or if you have recently cut back, or these price hikes will make no changes in how many streaming services you pay for. According to our survey, more than 150 cord cutters, 65 of them say they plan to cancel a streaming service to cut back on the number that they pay for. 16% said they're thinking about doing that also. And just 20% said they had no plans to cancel their streaming service. Now, this lines up with a bunch of stuff. At the height of 2020, the average American paid for up to 6 or 7 streaming services at once. Prior to that, the average was 3 to 4. Of course, 2020, we all know what happened. Everybody was staying home. People had more time for TV, and they were taking advantage of it. Now, though, increasingly, people are back out and about. I'm with my family on vacation for the next week and some. Because that, people are cutting back on the number of streaming services. I think also they're increasingly becoming bundled into other things. Like I've said, I have the Disney Plus bundle for free as part of my Verizon package. That's a huge win for me. So we'll keep a close eye on this. But question for you, question of the day. Have you or do you plan to cut back on the number of streaming services you have from whatever peak it may be for TV streaming services? Leave me a comment, let me know. I know I've cut back, and it seems like the vast majority of people have also. And it makes sense. It's one of those things. I think cable executives are making a big mistake here, but I think they all made a big mistake right from the beginning. they priced it cheap just to get subscribers in a price point that would never be profitable. People got used to it and how they expect it that way. And I think that they misunderstand. I see some live TV companies saying, well, we're going streaming. They want streaming, so we're going to ditch, Spectrum's doing this, DirecTV's doing this, and others. We'll ditch the satellite or the cable traditional box, and we'll give them a streaming version of our box. Everything else is the same, but it's streaming, and that's what they want. And the truth is, no, it's not just about the streaming. It is about the fact that I think a lot of Americans have realized that TV, their viewing habits, can be perfectly satisfied with cheaper alternatives. And I think they will continue to move that way, and the more expensive you make it, the more difficult you make it, the more willing they are to continue to cut back. Plus, there's so many free services out there like Pluto TV, the Roku channel, Tubi, and others that are free and offer great content. They're happy to supplement their content with that. So I think they're making a big mistake driving up the price in the way they are. All right, if you get ready for the Alien Romulus movie that's coming out, Hulu has added the first 6 Alien films, now streaming on Hulu. If you want to dive into it and check out all and get caught up, or maybe watch them for the first time, before you watch the new movie, they're all streaming on Hulu right now. Also, Pluto TV last week announced it's adding 17 new channels, mostly local news channels. Now, I've had some people ask me about them not being on. In our list, if there's an asterisk there, it means it's coming later this month. But it seems like Pluto TV is following a little bit of some other services where they're only showing local news in that particular market. If you don't happen to live in that market, you're not going to see the local news. So check that out with that. Well, that's it for today. I've answered some questions in the comments. I'm on vacation. I will do some Ask Luke questions here. You leave me a comment, start off with Ask Luke. I'll try to answer them here. But otherwise, I hope you have a fantastic week. I'll be here working a little bit, but I am going to enjoy some family time before we get into all the busy fall season as we get ready with our kids. I hope you have a fantastic day. Thank you for all your support. We've had some really good weeks here, especially considering it's the slow time of the year with everybody getting ready for back to school. Thank you. I'll talk to you all real soon. Take care. Be safe. Have a great day, everybody.